Urgent, the Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office is requesting charges against Pedro Sanchez's close friend Juan Mascherano for participation in a criminal organization. Let's get started. Hello everyone and welcome to a new edition of Precautionary Measures. And pay close attention because we have breaking news. Not even on Friday does Sanchez-linked corruption let us rest. And pay close attention because the Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office has just sought charges against a close friend of Pedro Sánchez for participation in a criminal organization, his former right-hand man, Juan Mascherano. We have all the information about this matter that we have just learned, and we are going to share it on screen. But as always, if you haven't done it yet, remember to subscribe to the Medidas Cautelares channel. We just need one last push to reach 141,000 subscribers. That's incredible. And we're going to share this breaking news on screen right now. Certainly another bitter blow for Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez. The anti-corruption prosecutor is requesting the indictment of Sanchez's former chief of staff, Juan Mascherano, in the PSOE dirty tricks case. And here you have an image of this Juan Mascherano, a close friend of Pedro Sánchez. That is to say, at this rate, the only one left to indict is his hairdresser. I mean, everything Pedro Sánchez has touched is rotten. Everything is corrupted. Let's go with this breaking news. The Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office has requested the indictment of the former boss, Chief of Staff of Pedro Sánchez and former President of Correos, Juan Mascherano, in the case of the PSOE's dirty dealings. Prosecutorial sources consulted state that the Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office has reported in favor of examining Juan Mascherano's mobile phone, which logically implies his status as a person under investigation. The Public Prosecutor's Office made this decision after the Central Operational Unit of the Civil Guard UCO submitted a new report to the head of the Central Investigative Court No. 5 of the National Court, Santiago Pedraz. The same sources consulted indicate that the status of the former Chief of Staff of Sánchez as a suspect would be based on the alleged commission of the offense of membership in a criminal organization. That's what we're talking about, criminal organization. It should be noted that after the anti-corruption report, Judge Pedraz will now have to make the final decision. What did that UCO report say? Well, regarding the former Chief of Staff of Sánchez, Juan Mascherano, the manager of the PSOE, Ana María Fuentes, and the employees of Ferraz, Covadonga, A. San Pedro, and Celia Rodriguez, as well as the Civil Guard captain under investigation, Juan Sánchez Yepes. The UCO pointed out that there are specific elements in the case that show they appear to have had interactions or communications with other people under investigation, and within the context of these events, which are considered especially significant, for their clarification. And finally, which could potentially be stored on the mobile devices they use regularly. In this regard, it is considered essential to have access to the information stored, he says, on those devices. Based on the above, police adopted the preliminary measure of seizing the mobile devices used by these individuals and placing them at the court's disposal for the court while they remained in police custody. This is what the UCO said, the request for authorization from the UCO agents to analyze the mobile devices. They concerned Juan Mascherano, Ana María Fuentes, Covadonga, San Pedro, and Celia Rodriguez. And what they tell us is that the Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office would have only given a favorable report to analyze Juan Mascherano's phone. It should be noted that the UCO pointed out in the same report Juan Mascherano for giving a job to the PSOE fixer Leire 10 at Correos. It said that from the very beginning, when Vicente Fernandez talks to him to get it started, up until shortly before his official appointment, when he would have had direct contact with Leire 10 as has been seen. Taking into account the position held by Juan Mascherano, the intermediate steps to give Leire 10 a job were carried out by other executives at Correos. It is considered necessary to look deeper into the relationships or instructions that may have taken place during those dates and that may have facilitated this. For example, that Leire 10 had the ability to modify the job profile for a position she intended to occupy within Correos, making it possible for another executive to later claim that they couldn't find any internal candidates who met all the required qualifications. As you know, the case being investigated by the National Court Judge Santiago Pedras is called Operation Lere, the SEPI scheme, the dirty trick scheme. You know, everyone gives it a name. But let's say it had two main branches. One is the SEPI scheme itself, where the rigging of contract awards and contracts related to SEPI is being investigated, and the other is the dirty tricks branch. Well, it must be said that the charges in both branches by Judge Pedras haven't stopped. They haven't stopped in recent days within the framework of the SEPI scheme itself. The indictment of more than 25 people was requested and agreed upon. And now we also have to talk about another matter that is precisely related to this scheme, let's say, of the so-called dirty tricks network, properly speaking, okay? The PSOE's Dirty Tricks branch, and indeed the indictments by Judge Santiago Pedras in this part of the proceedings also do not stop. The case of the PSOE's Dirty Tricks network has continued to grow in recent weeks. Initially, the judge of the National Court, Santiago Pedras, charged the former organization secretary of the PSOE, Santos Cerdan, the so-called socialist fixer. Leire Diez, the businessman Javier Perez Olcet, the former minister of the presidency of the Andalusian regional government, Gaspar Zarias, and the lawyer Ismael Oliver for crimes of criminal organization, multiple counts of bribery, disclosure of secrets, inducement to perjury, false accusation, forgery of commercial documents, malfeasance, influence peddling, and crimes against state institutions. This was, let's say, the start of the case, right? He also charged the lawyer Jacobo Tejelo, known as the sewer lawyer, and the civil guard officer, former UCO captain Juan Sanchez Yepes, with crimes of disclosure of secrets, bribery, and crimes against state institutions. And obviously, in recent days, we've also learned about the summonses of Civil Guard Director General Mercedes Gonzalez and Deputy Operations Director Manuel Llamas as suspects. And that's the situation, and this is the latest breaking news at this hour. The Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office has requested that Pedro Sanchez's close friend and former Chief of Staff, Juan Mascherano, be named a suspect for criminal organization, who is also the former president of Correos. The Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office has requested that Pedro Sanchez's close friend and former Chief of Staff, Juan Mascherano, be formally named as a suspect on criminal organization charges. Serrano is also the former Correos president. The Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office has requested that Pedro Sanchez's close friend and former Chief of Staff, Juan Mascherano, who is also the former president of Correos, be formally named as a suspect on criminal organization charges. The Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office has requested that Pedro Sanchez's close friend and former Chief of Staff, Juan Mascherano, be formally named as a suspect on criminal organization charges. Serrano is also the former Correos president. Judge Pedras will ultimately have to decide whether to formally name him as a suspect of the close friend of the Prime Minister, Juan Mascherano. This is the information. It should be noted that obviously the official decision to formally name him as a suspect once Judge Pedras makes it could become known in the coming hours or days. And of course, any updates will be available here on Medidas Cautelares, of course. That's it for today's Medidas Cautelares edition. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if so, you know you can leave your comments, opinions, and your predictions as well. And keep supporting this community, getting subscribers so we can soon reach those 150,000 subscribers. We're already in June. In July, people start going on vacation. It's normal for the audience to drop a bit since people are at the beach and want to disconnect. I get that, but many still keep watching. They keep up with the news every day and want to stay informed firsthand. What they need to do is subscribe to the Medidas Cautelares channel. Hit the bell so that as soon as we upload a video, they get to know about that video, that information firsthand. And also, you can become members like the chosen ones for less than €4 a month, or like the supreme ones for less than €8 a month. You can also make contributions via Visium at 627, 556, 370, 627, 556, 370, 627, 556, 370. And precisely, we're going to dedicate today's show to the subscriber who made the latest contribution via Visium. Thank you very much, Maria Garcia Soto. You wrote thank you in the message, and I want to thank you in return, Maria, for your trust and your support. Most importantly, as I always say, make sure this information reaches everyone because information is power. See you soon.